Sorry.
Wait a minute. Well, let's back up a little bit. It was October the 5th, because this is the Examiner of October the 6th, 1969. And the article in the Examiner goes on to state, Sheriff goes that away with swim mark. Deputy Sheriff Bob Roper, relentless tracking of the Golden Gate swim record has brought that miscreant to book. Roper, now 31, whose hour-long swims in the Olympic Club pool had earlier made him a legend in those haunts, turned him into open water competition 5 years ago. Gem of the Bay marks then was a 20-minute, 44-second time held by the former University of California star Ed Duncan from mile and 5/8 from Fort Point to Lime Rock under the Golden Gate Bridge. Roper slashed that mark to bits yesterday, traversing the distance in 17 minutes and 21 seconds. Duly attested by Jack Gordon, veteran AAU judge and timer, and the latter team of assistants. 22 participated in the 37th annual South End Rowing Club Golden Gate Swim, all finished. And here's the...
How many, 22?
Yeah. So actually, they first... we had more than 12 swimmers, but here it only lists the first 12. I guess they ran out of newspaper.
Okay, let's list those. So go ahead and what's the first one? Bob Roper for sure.
Yeah, the first one was Bob Roper, 1721. John Parent, who was a really great open water swimmer.
How do you spell his name?
Parent.
Okay, what was his time?
His time was 1949. So it's over 2.5 minutes slower than Roper's.
And who's next?
Next was Norm Peterson at 2020.
Peterson with an
Peterson.
S-O-N?
Yeah.
At what was the time again?
2020.
20, okay.
Fourth place was Hector Valencia.
How do you spell Hector?
Hector. Valencia, Valencia. 2023. Bob Jimenez, Jimenez, 2049. The infamous George Farnsworth, 2055.
How do you spell George, his last name?
Farnsworth, Farnsworth, 2055.
So he's pretty good.
These times are unbelievable. You're never going to have these times again, ever. I don't care. I don't care what conditions you have. I mean, and you go to Jerry Dunn, DUNN 2125.
2125?
Yeah. Frank DeLangen, DeLangen.
Say that again, please.
DeLangden, Frank, DeLangen.
And his time?
2127. Mike Dower, Dower. 2149. Joe Flahaven,
Right on.
Flahaven, 2250. Huey Burns, Byrne, 2428.
And what was his first name?
Huey, Hughie. And Carl Thiele, Thiele.
You got to say that one again.
Thiele, Thiele.
And what was his first name?
Carl,
Carl.
2524.
What was Joe's, the one right, Joe Flahaven?
His time?
Yeah.
2250.
And then Huey Byrne?
Huey Byrne, 2428.
Okay, that's the one I got wrong. 24, 28. Okay, and then we got 25, 24, and that's all the swimmers?
Yeah, well, it's all the swimmers that the newspaper put in.
10, And do you remember anybody else that might have swam that day? I don't need their time, but just anybody else that, so these were swimmers. And this was October what? What was the date, exact
It was
date?
Sunday, October the 5th.
69. Now, who were crew?
The crew were members from the Southern Rowing Club.
Do you have any? Do you remember any of the names of the guys that?
Probably Joe Davis,
Joe, and what would he have done?
you know, Southern Rowing Club boat or wooden or propel boat.
Like a wooden boat,
Yeah.
wooden rowboat.
Yeah.
And there was a big like ferry that pulled up against Lime Rock that kind of motored in. What you remember?
Water taxi.
So that's a water taxi.
Yeah.
And who would have? Do you remember who might have done that?
Other swimmers?
No, the crew, like one of the captain or anybody.
No.
Okay.
No.
And then they didn't have kayaks back then. So
No,
what?
they didn't have kayaks. The only thing they didn't have inflatables. The only thing they had was wooden or propel boats.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
oar propelled and no surfboards or anything. Nobody was out there on surfboards.
No.
How many boats, rowboats, would there be in a race?
Oh, I'd say about 15 to 20.
Okay. Okay. So, so the best you can from start to finish of that day. And I want you to start like the night before. Just what you if did you even think about the swims back then? Were you like geared up? Did you get nervous?
Sure. I mean, it's naturally to get nervous before a swim, and even though maybe you might be favored, and I think I was at that time. But the regular dinner, early retirement, about 9:30, something like that. Got up the next day to a most gorgeous day that I've ever seen on the bay, something like today. I mean, there wasn't a breath of wind out. And the water temperature at that time was around 58 to 60 degrees, which is very, very high. Absolutely no wind. And there was no vessel traffic. Phil Hunter, an expert tideman, called vessel traffic.
What was his name again?
Phil Hunter.
Okay.
There was no incoming or outgoing vessels to interfere with our swim. And we started parallel to the beach off a boat, and the gun went off and we all hit the water and start paddling across the eighth wonder of the world. And it was a wonderful day. It was unbelievable. I didn't realize, I felt strong. I felt I was swimming well. It looked like I was in the lead, which I was. And I hit in the Lime Rock, and the record time is 17:21. And like I said, looking at these times in the paper, the last place here was 25 minutes. The last place swimmer. I mean, that'll never happen again. I don't care what kind of conditions you have. I mean, it was absolutely a picture perfect day. Everything was right. Everything. And I was in the prime of my life. I was 31 years old. I was swimming up the Olympic Club at the time. Type A personality. I was swimming 200 miles a month. And it was all hard interval training, and I had a lot of great swimmers that helped me, push me along the way. And
was that mostly in the cove, or was that pool swimming too?
That was pool swimming, yes, yeah. In the first 3 or 4 years when I started joining the South End Rowing Club, I mainly swam in the morning. I'd get off work and I'd go swim at the Olympic Club, and then it was a day like this. Beautiful, gorgeous day. I'd come down and do a couple of times around the cove, and then go up and lay on the roof to warm up. In those days, we didn't have a sauna, So it was an unbelievable, truly the best swimming day I ever had in my life. And like I said, the times were just unbelievable. If somebody showed you this article now, they would say, well, something must have been wrong, but Jack Gordon, AAU judge and timer, got the official time, so they were all legal. And it was, in those days, you invited a lot of friends down to the club, and they went out on the boats and watched the crossing, the swim.
Back then, did the blue and white fleet come out like back in the 70s? Because I remember seeing like in '73 you swim and we were on the blue and white.
Yeah, it was one of the blue and white. It was one of the red and white or blue and gold.
Blue and gold, I mean.
Spectator boats, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
And it was truly a memorable time in my life, and I imagine everybody else's life, because imagine George Farnsworth swimming across the gate in 20 minutes. I mean, he'd be rolling over his grave if he looked at this newspaper article right now. And like I said, I never after that, I never broke, my fastest time was 21 minutes. So it goes to show, of course, open water swimming is always different. The tides are always different. The conditions are always different. The finny creatures are always different. Like I said, I never again even approached that time. My best time after that was 21 minutes, which is about 4 minutes slower than all my other years.
So I'm going to ask you a couple questions about the swimmers, okay? And so what I'm going to probably want is what they look like, kind of their, whatever you can remember. If you can't remember them, that's fine. But and then like where were they from? Were they from San Francisco or East Bay, or I know it's hard to remember all that stuff, but just a little bit about each of these swimmers, okay? So John Parent.
Well, John Parent was a great athlete. He was a great swimmer. He won the gate swim the year before I did. He was a great handball player. He was a gifted natural athlete.
What did he look like?
Very strong, very stocky, beautiful build.
Blonde hair, brown hair?
Brownish brown hair, yeah.
Okay.
He was almost 2.5 minutes behind me. So I was in such fantastic shape. It's a feeling that I'll never get back again, because I don't work out like I did in those days. And of course, the old Father Time is catching up, or has caught up to me, and that is a slowdown.
When you get into the water, is it just a sprint for you? Is it just balls
Yes.
to the wall the entire time?
Yes.
As hard as you possibly can go. You don't save any energy for the end, right?
No.
So every time you got in the water back then, it was just ball. You were a sprinter.
And I wasn't really much of a distance swimmer. I was a sprinter. The longest swim in the bay, I think, was probably maybe 4 miles, 4.5 miles.
And was that balls out too?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How long would that take you with the tide and stuff? A 4-mile swim?
Oh, Chrissy Field, 3.5, about an hour. Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
holy smokes.
Yeah.
Okay, and talk about the only reason I'm asking you about hair color and build and stuff is because if we do shoot this, I want to get somebody that represents the person as close as possible. So what about Norm Peterson?
Well, Norm Peterson was a classic. He joined the club right after the war, I think, and him and Farnsworth are great swim rivalries, and he was a great swimmer. Norm was about 10 to 12 years older than I was at that time, I think. But a great swimmer, a great oarsman, physical fitness, and a real great gentleman.
What color hair?
A brown.
And then was he slight build or?
About medium to slight build,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. What about Hector Valencia?
Hector Valencia was kind of a Latin spark plug. He was very, cocky, and
Was he younger than you?
yes, I think he was. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Hecker, but he was very competitive. He won the gate swim for the Dolphin Club a couple of years prior to that. And him and Joe Verhaven were great swimming, not buddies, but challengers. George Farnsworth, of course, was a legend in everybody's mind,
including his own.
Including his own. And he was at that time. I say George was around maybe 60s, about 60s, in his 60s. But George swam religiously every day. He was physical fitness. He didn't drink. He didn't smoke. He didn't spend.
Oh, really?
He didn't spend.
Expound on George a little bit. Talk about his personality and stuff like that.
Well, George,
maybe a couple of the things that he's.
They just threw the book away on George. I mean, he was a legend in his own mind, but he was a great character, the most colorful character I've ever met.
Was he redhead?
Yeah, George is a redhead.
And
yeah.
Irish or Scottish? Or?
Italian.
Italian. Okay.
Yeah. He had many aliases. Some of his aliases were Petrotucci, Di Martini, Rusty Riley.
Hold on. Let's go back to the first one.
Okay.
So, how would you spell Petrotucci?
Petrotucci.
How would you spell it?
I don't know. Common spelling.
Petrotucci.
Yeah.
And then what's the next one?
Let me see. Petrotucci. Hugo DeWitt.
Hugo
DeWitt.
DeWitt.
W-I-T-T.
All right. Who else?
Rusty Riley. And George Furlong, of course. Nobody really knew George's true name. Even his family didn't know his true name. But he was the most colorful character in bay swimming in all the history of that. And I don't think there'll be anybody that'll be as colorful as George.
What about Farnsworth Gap? Just in short, why is it called Farnsworth Gap now?
Well, the Farnsworth Gap was discovered in, I think, 1982 in a New Year's Day Alcatraz swim. The tides were just all erratic, all very wrong. Not the fault to Phil Hunter, because he always hit 99% of his tides, but they were we hit a strong outgoing tide, and most of the swimmers were swept past the opening of Aquatic Park. They were swept down to Gashouse Cove, even as far as Yacht Harbor. So George was swept by the cove, and he did the curvature around Muni Pier. And he found an opening at the start of Muni Pier, and he went through that and finished. One of the only swimmers that finished that day. Out of about 70, there was only about 13 swimmers. And since then, it's been called and christened the Farnsworth Gap.
Did he get beat up? Did he get torn up coming through?
You have to go through at a high tide because there's a lot of rocks, a lot of barnacled rocks under there. And you got to be careful whenever you go under there. But it's almost imperative that you go through at the highest tide of the flood, the highest point of the flood tide, because there's not too many people that have gone through there that haven't been scraped up by the barnacles.
Bobby Jimenez.
Bob Jimenez was a great open-water swimmer. I think he went to University of California. I'll never forget my first duel with Bob Jimenez. It was my first Alcatraz swim. And Bob at that time has won the gate swim too before that. So we jumped in and I battled all the way to the opening, and all of a sudden this pilot started yelling. He says, over here, beckoning me to come over to west of the opening of Aquatic Park. So me being a snotty little kid, I didn't know what was going on. I figured this guy knew what he was doing. And I swam over to him and he said, no, over there. So by the time I got back to the middle of the opening, Bob Jimenez came right alongside me, and we battled all the way right up to the end of the, into the beach. And he beat me by a fingernail. It was unbelievable. But a great guy. He was a school teacher. Bob Jimenez.
In the city?
Uh-huh.
In the city?
Yeah. I'll never forget that swim. Like I said, I never talked to that pilot the rest of his life, the rest of my life.
What color hair does Bob have?
Bob is kind of balding. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
With hair on the sides? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jerry Dunn.
Jerry Dunn was a very good swimmer. He swam on the Farallon Relay with us in 1969, and also the first Trans-Tahoe Relay in 1969. Jerry was a fireman, San Francisco, and very competitive. And
How old?
Jerry was about a year older than I was, I think, about maybe 32, 33, something like that.
Okay, so we got Frank DeLangden.
DeLangden. He was a rower swimmer. I didn't really know too much about Frank. He didn't swim too many of the swims with us. But, I mean, look at his time, 21 minutes, you know.
What do you look like?
Middle age, brown hair. I don't know what his occupation was.
Mike Dower.
The next thing, Mike Dower was one of the great competitors. Mike and I joined about the same time, about 1967 in the South End Rowing Club. He was a fifth generation policeman in San Francisco.
Oh, cool.
And he had the body of a Greek god, but he could never beat Farnsworth for some reason, because Farnsworth's about 30 years older than Mike, and he could never beat him. I don't know why. And it was really funny. One morning of one of our swims, Mike had his whole family there, and George has his swimming bathrobe on, and he's jumping around, and Mike's little daughter goes up to George and pulls on the bottom of his robe and says, "Please, Mr. Farnsworth, don't beat my daddy today." And of course, George beat him. But later on, Mike, he retired as a captain of the police department, and he started taking swimming a little more seriously. He had more time to work out, and he improved a lot. And one of my close friends, Mike, swam with us also on the first Farallon Relay in 1969, and also wow, on the relays at Lake Tahoe, 69, 70, 71. Also, Mike swam with us over in Hawaii, the rough water swim at Waikiki Beach, and also the Maui Channel swim.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Mike comes up and swims. He's retired now. He's in a sports memorabilia business, you know, down in Burlingame. And great guy, close friend. We had a lot of great battles together. Yeah.
Joe Flahaven.
Flahaven was another stalwart and a classic swimmer. He was a great handball player, great surfer, of course a great swimmer. He won the date swim 2 or 3 times. And actually Joe introduced me. I met Joe at the Olympic Club when I was training. And Joe says, you know, I think you'd really like swimming in the bay. Why don't you come down and try it out? So, you know, I didn't think much of it, but, you know, my dad had swam across the Golden Gate in 1917 and 1919, and I wanted to swim the gate because of him. I didn't have any good delusions of winning or breaking any records because I didn't have any swimming background at all, you know, until I hurt my knee and went into the Olympic Club pool for rehabbing. And so I came down, and in those days you had to have a sponsor to get into the South End Rowing Club, and I knew Dave Gallagher, who was the president at the time, and I ran track with Dave at Reardon High School, and he pledged me for membership, and that was hard to believe, almost 50 years ago now. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Huey Burns was a medium to slow swimmer. Great guy, a fireman in San Francisco. Probably around, he was probably in his 40s. He owned a resort up in Lake Tahoe, and we used to go up for the Trans-Tahoe Relay. We used to stay at Huey's place all the time up there. And a real true great South Ender. Carl Thiele was a medium to slow swimmer, probably around 45.
Slower than me?
Want me to answer that? Even the stick is faster than you. Carl Thiele was also a good rower, and he played a little bit of handball, but he always swam the gate, and was another true South End legend. Most of these guys are still with us. Parents not, Peterson's not, Farnsworth's not, Jimenez not, but the rest of them are here. Joe Flahaven is the only one that probably continuously swims in the bay. Joe comes down about 2 or 3 times a week. He swims, never takes a sauna, quick shower, and he's out the door. Great guy, great athlete, and very, very dedicated South Ender. Over 50 years, life member of South End Rowing Club. He also belonged to the Dolphin Club, and I think he won the gate swim over there a couple of years. Yeah.
So, if I'm going to write this, so talk a little bit about your dad, 1918, 1919, and try to not your dad in general, but give me his what he looked like, and I'm sure you have pictures of him that I can use. But tell me about the swims back then, because it was before the Empire State Building. The bridge was built.
Yes, definitely.
So, what are the memories of your dad talking about that?
Well,
and and what was it? The Olympic Club, or?
My dad was a life member of the Olympic Club, and he was a very good swimmer. Naturally, he taught my brother and I to swim. He wasn't a pusher. My mother was a pusher, and she had the spark of the family. My dad, had the spark, but he was considerably older than my mom. They were both real good athletes. My dad swam for the Olympic Club. He wrestled for the Olympic Club, and in those days they hung around the beach. They called them beachcombers, and they hung around China Beach, which is west of the Golden Gate Bridge. And
where did he live at the time?
My dad lived in the city.
Was it near China Beach, or was that just the place they went?
It was in the Richmond district.
Richmond, okay, yeah. So that's pretty near the.
Yeah. He, like I said, he was never a pusher. He insisted that my brother and I learned how to swim, and we did. And I learned how to swim up at Camp Mather, which is a San Francisco recreation camp up at by Yosemite. And I was never competitive. I never swam in high school. I never swam practically at all until, I injured my leg the third time, and that's where, I started rehabbing it. And, it's just a quirk of luck or fate that I'm here talking to you today about open water swimming. And it's been such a huge, rewarding part of my life. I've met so many great swimmers, so many great people. I swam with Olympians. I've traveled up and down the coast. I've gone to Hawaii for almost 50 years for the rough water swims over there. And I'm just truly blessed that I had the opportunity to join the South End Rowing Club.
Hold on, let me get a close-up of this in case you get into tears.
No tears.
I'm just kidding. Let's focus on the swim. All right, I'm gonna interview you about other things, different time periods. So what I want, and I know you're gonna hate me for directing you on this, but I want to get real specific with this one. So, and I'm also gonna talk about some of your dark times too. I want to talk about some of your dark times. So, what was your life like?
You mean my TUI times? You mean?
Well, the TUI times, but then there was some. I don't know if they were dark, but after. When you were drinking in your, in your 20s.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
well,
then
they weren't all dark times.
No.
There were some great times, but...
No, great times, but then, you had divorce, you've had, some tough times around that.
Yeah.
But what was your life like in 1969? What was your life like? What were you doing?
Prior?
What was 1969 from January? Were you a You know, a cop, a sheriff?
I joined the sheriff's department in 1966.
Okay.
And I worked in the jails for a couple of years, and then I worked in a work furlough program, and then I took promotions, and I was a bailiff in Superior Court, municipal and Superior Court, and I retired out of Youth Guidance Center.
Where were you living in '69?
'69, I was living out in the Sunset.
Okay, where
Yeah.
you remember specifically where?
Upper Sunset.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like near Irving, like Irving Street?
Irving, yeah. 17th Avenue, Irving, Judah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And were you dating anybody? Were you married?
No, I was no, I wasn't married at the time. I was too wrapped up in swimming. I just was, you know, too. That was my whole world, my whole life, my whole being. I ate, slept, drank, shit, pissed, swimming. I mean, that was my whole life. And it was the greatest part of my time of my life because I was in phenomenal shape, and you know it proved it proved good, you know, for me because I was so successful in base swimming, and like I said, I had a lot of people that pushed me. I had a friend of mine that Don Kane, who I met at the Olympic Club, and his wife was. Started a synchronized swimming club in San Francisco, and they were called. Her name was Marion, and the name of the swim team, synchronized swimming team, was the Marionettes. Mm. And I met Don at the Olympic Club, and he won the gate swim for the Dolphin Club a couple of years. And I asked Don to help me train, and he did. And he pushed me so hard, I hated him. And I was thinking of ways how to kill him, whether to poison him, or run over him with my car, or push him out a window. And he really pushed me to the limit.
Well, tell me a little bit about that. What was it that he did that pushed you?
Well, I was doing interval sprints, 100s, 200s, 400s, half mile, and especially the 100s and 200s. I would do what they call negative splits. So I'd go out. And I'd go out at a certain time and come back at a faster time, and then reduce my rest periods between the sets. Hmm. So he had me doing 1 mile sprints with 5 seconds between each lap.
Oh man!
And I hurt so much, it was indescribable. I mean, you know, competitive swimming, Olympic swimmers, I know what they go through because I've been there, and it's not pretty. I mean, it's the discipline is nutcracking. But he helped me, and I pushed through. And the better shape I get in, the easier it was to swim. The harder I swam, the less pain I experienced because my body was saying, "Hey, clown, you know, I'm going to get you in shape because I can't take this pain anymore." And I gradually got better and stronger and faster and swimming more. And the Olympic Club had what they call a Mississippi swim, and I got involved in that. And you know, it was about 8 or 10 athletic clubs that swam, started theoretically in their pools throughout the country, and swam from down the Mississippi River, and they called it the Mississippi Swim. And I got involved in that, and that was I'd get off work in the morning, and I'd swim until 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and I swam 214 miles in 2 weeks. And in the last 5 days, I swam 20 miles every day for 5 consecutive days.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it was something. It was something. But I really had my mother's drive and push, and the more I drove myself, the better shape I got in, and the better swimmer I became. I was a good swimmer, but I was a great swimmer because of my work ethic. Yeah, no doubt.
So walk me through a typical day from, you know, because you said you didn't go out and party too much. You didn't party at all. You were sober, right?
No.
Walk me through like a typical day of work. And did you go to, you know, church? You know,
No, I wasn't. I was brought up a Catholic, you know, but I wasn't really a practicing Catholic. I'd go to work. In those days, you rotated shifts in the sheriff's department.
so you drive to work, right?
Yeah.
You had a car.
Yeah.
What kind of car do you have?
I think I had a Morris Minor.
A Morris Minor?
Yeah.
All right.
I got it from Tui's used car shop.
Seriously?
No.
No,
It's
yeah.
a Morris Minor, though, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Then I had a Chevy, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Had a couple of cars.
Beaters?
Hmm?
All beaters?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, we rotated shifts, and the day shift was 8 to 4, the swing shift was 4 to 12, and the midnight was midnight to 8.
And that's 850 Bryant?
850 Bryan Street. And I started off working in the jails. Fortunately, I only worked in the jail for about a year. And then they started what they call a work program, a work furlough program, which inmates work during the day and come back at night and spend their time in jail. And that gives them a chance not to lose their jobs and to serve their times out. And then from there, I went to the work furlough program, which is similar to that. And then I took a promotion to the courts, and I went into as a bailiff. And I started off in the community courts, and then eventually I came up and got a judge in the superior courts. And I was a superior court bailiff for around 18 or 19 years. Had some great highlights, trials where I was on the Dan White trial, the Rochelle McGee, the Marin County shootout. I was at the Soledad brothers. I had a great judge, very understanding, because I was working so much and working so hard, and I was working a couple of jobs on the side. I used to fall asleep constantly during my bailiff duties, and he was very liberal, and he used to open the drawers and slam the drawers to wake me up, you know.
What other jobs were you doing?
Oh, I was doing loss prevention for Macy's, Safeway, Walgreens. I worked with Mike Dower, always had secondary jobs with the police department, and he got me a lot of jobs working at the Temple Emmanuel, which is a Jewish temple out on Arguello Street. And I worked for Jack in the Box. You know, I had, at one time I had 5 different jobs, not at one time, but 5 different jobs.
Yeah, including the
sheriff's department.
Yeah.
So the typical day when I was working for Safeway, when I was working for the sheriff's department, I worked from 8 to 5, and then I'd have a downtime for an hour, and then I'd start at Safeway from 6 to 2. I came home and got about 2 hours sleep, and went down and worked out, and then back to the sheriff's department. Yeah, I did that for a couple of years, and boy, that was the only reason I think I kept going was because I was such in good shape, you know. But going back to my my Wahoo days, I was brought up as a Catholic in San Francisco. I went to St. Monica's Grammar School and transferred over to St. Gabriel's when we moved out to the Richmond district. Went to Reardon High School, hard as nails, tough as bricks, wore the class of 56. And I was never a student. I remember this guy Bill Toohey and the greaser Mariano Valle and Glenn Price. We were in summer school every year because if anybody caught anybody else of the gang bringing a book home, we beat the shit out of them. And I don't think I even had any books when I went through Reardon. I had so many F's, and oh shit, my father didn't know what to do, and I couldn't wait to get out of school to go over and play basketball. That was my first love, and then I got into running. I ran as a sophomore, frosh soft as a sophomore, and then I played junior varsity, and then I played varsity football, and I came out, and track was my real love. As a senior, I did very well in track. I set the school record out at Reardon, and that
was 10 flat.
Yeah. And You know, if I had to choose between running and swimming, it would be very, very difficult because I used to love to run. I mean, I was very fast, and I always loved speed, whether it was in the water or whether it was on land. But it would be very, very difficult to choose between those two if in my prime. You know, it would be very hard because what I enjoyed in high school, I didn't enjoy was swimming until my mid-20s, you know. So I didn't know anything about swimming. I knew how to swim, and that was the extent of it until I got hurt. And then I used to hobble down to the pool at the Olympic Club and slide in, and the doctor said something he shouldn't have said. He says, you can swim as hard as you want and as much as you want, and you won't hurt your knee, you know. So Katie barred the door. At first, I couldn't swim a lap down at the Olympic Club. I had to get out. I was so winded. And gradually, out of 1 lap, 2 laps, 4 laps, 10 laps, quarter mile, half mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, 5 miles. And then I had a lot of great swimmers who followed me to the South End Rowing Club. Bill Forer, Lee Faust, Tim Reed, Frank Blair, Denny Rice, all really pushed me, and it was great because we worked our asses off up there, and it was great pushing ourselves. Swimming against somebody, it's a lot easier swimming against somebody than swimming against the clock because you know you got them right there, and you're pushing each other, and you're competing each other, and we were great friends and great buddies, and it was a very, very special time of my life working out at the Olympic Club. And also it was very, you know, when I got into open water swimming, that was the end of the Olympic Club. I didn't want to go back to the club. I fell in love, hopelessly head over heels in love with base swimming and open water swimming. And I just couldn't go back to swimming in the Olympic Club. And I dropped out, thank God. And yeah. So my dad was a very good athlete. Like I said, he was a good swimmer. In those days, a beach swimmer at China Beach, and he was also a lifeguard at Neptune Beach over in Alameda. And they had a lot of saltwater pools over there. And he was right in the prime. He had a body like a Greek god. He was very small. He was only about 5'1", but he was very good wrestling, very good swimming. He was a great gymnast, great rower. They used a canoe up at the Russian River. He was very, very athletic. He used to stand on his, walk down on the feet and on his hands and roll off the diving board. He was extremely coordinated, My mother was very coordinated. She was a good tennis player. But I think I got most of my athletic ability from my dad and my drive from my mother, you know. Yeah. My dad was in overdrive. My mother was in speed, you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what did you wear in 1969 when you swam? Today they got goggles, they got fins.
At first we didn't wear goggles. We just had a suit. We all had South End Rowing Club suits and kind of leather water polo hats that we wore.
Padded like?
No, they weren't padded, but they were kind of leathery, you know. Mm-hmm. And we all had those, and then gradually we started getting goggles. And
but what did you wear? What was the thing that everybody wore in '69?
Swimming-wise?
Yeah.
Just a pair of Speedos, you know, and a swimming cap.
That's
it,
huh? No goggles, yeah. Okay, all right.
Mm.
So the best of your ability, without going off onto anything else, I want you to talk about from when you left. From like what pier you left from until you came back, and so I want you to concentrate on what that day was like, okay? And if it takes you 10 minutes to describe it, I don't want you to go a year before or a year after, but describe the atmosphere, the kind of boat, you know, the fooling around on the ship, and then the bell went off, and you know, to the best of your ability, what was the water like? What were you thinking? I know it's a long time ago, but I want kind of a description of that. And when you touched the rock, and when people said it's 1721, or you know, how did you find out the time and all those details? Okay, So best of your ability from when you left.
Well, in those days, we didn't have many that swam. Well, luckily we had 25 or 30 swimmers. Now you've got 50, 60, 70 swimmers that swim. Alcatraz 100 swimmers, Golden Gate 100 swimmers. Actually, open water swimming was kind of in a hiatus when I joined the club, and then it just gradually started to explode. You know, we started the sunrisers, and we started to have more challenging swims rather than the traditional swims that we have now, and so going back to that morning, I got up and had a light breakfast, and of course my mother and father were down. My father was the timekeeper on Lime Rock with a bunch of officials at Jack Gordon and the timekeepers and judges. At that time, you could go right out onto Lime Rock. There was a platform out there, and Ray Saviano, the boathouse captain, used to get down on the rock, and as the swimmers came in, he'd call the name of the swimmers up to the timers and judges. And so that morning, we all got on. We didn't have a lot of swimmers, and we had what we called a water taxi, and it was a small boat that accompanied 30, 40 swimmers, something like that. And like I said, we had that day we had more than 30 swimmers. So we walked down to I think it was Pier 39, and it was crystal clear. I think in the morning, it was definitely in the early morning. I can't recall what specific time was, but traditionally when you do open water swims, or especially Alcatraz and the Golden Gate, it's good to get started early. And because the water is very calm, and there's usually better tides. So we walked down to Pier 39, and we all got on the water taxi, and we're all left laughing and cheering, and going out to attempt to swim across the Golden Gate Bridge. And we motored out there, and it usually takes about 40 minutes for the water taxi to get to our starting position, which is off the beach at Fort Point. And then, we all got the signal at five minutes to go, and we were all stripped down, and, all endorphins started roaring, and testosterone, and the gun went off, and bam, everybody hit the water. And when you hit the water, I don't stop, I don't stop and look around. I don't, I do in my later days of the gate, because it's a wonderful feeling to turn over and see the eighth wonder of the world. I mean, you're like a little ant under it, and you're so insignificant, and it's a great experience. But in those days, everybody was very competitive. Didn't matter if you were slow, medium, or fast. Everybody was still competitive. And Phil Hunter, like I said, was a great oarsman. And expert tidesman, picked all the tides. Really, that he had a bad tide, and like I said, that day he hit it right on the button. I mean, and we all swam across as fast, as quick as we could, and I hit Lime Rock, and I don't know if I realized when I touched the rock what time I really had, because they were yelling the time's up, and then everybody was coming in, and the pilot boat pushed its nose into the rock, so all you had to do was touch the rock and swim right over and get right onto the boat. Nowadays, sometimes the boats are 100 yards from Lime Rock, and you have to swim over to them after you hit the rock, and like I said, everybody was on board, and I was always cold out at the gate swimming. I remember that when we got on the boat, I was very cold. And Norm Peterson, one of the great swimmers who swam that day with us, always had a bottle of whiskey, and he always passed it around. Of course, I wasn't drinking it at the time, but most everybody else, there wasn't a good way to keep warm, and otherwise than coffee or slug a good take a good gulp of Old Crow, And so then we all came back, and there was always a queen for the day, and usually it was one of the wives or one of the girlfriends. On that day, I think it was a good friend of the family. Her daughter, Kathy Fix, was the queen of the day. And in those days, the gate swim was celebrated all hours and hours after at the club, and they always give out special trophies. And usually the winner got the best trophy or got the choice of the best trophy, and usually that was the Buena Vista, and they had beautiful trophies. And so I was fortunate enough to get the Buena Vista trophy for a few years, and then we had a lot of music and a lot of drinking and a lot of commiserating, good camaraderie, and it was much more traditional in those days than it is now. Now it doesn't seem like a Golden Gate swim. I mean, everybody comes back, they eat. You know, all the pilots in those days were acknowledged for their help. Without the pilots, we couldn't have done the swims, and it's much different now. The swims have changed. Not that they not lessened, but I don't know, the camaraderie doesn't seem as great as it was in those days, and especially that day. And then, of course, George had a very in with the sheriff's department, with the Chronicle, and he got this article in the Chronicle, and practically every other week we had articles about the South End Rowing Club swims in the Examiner or the Chronicle. And at that time, the second year I was swimming commissioner not only at the South End Rowing Club but at the Olympic Club. And the Olympic Club would see all these people that were Olympians swimming under the colors of the South End Rowing Club, and they didn't really appreciate that much, And so I said, well, when they swim in the bay, they swim for the South End, and when they swim in the pool, they swim under the auspices of the Olympic Club. Mm-hmm. And, that's the way it was. So they kind of backed off about that, But, and they would take a lot of pictures. This Dolphin Club member, Jerry Harlock, and you have some of those pictures, Brian.
Yeah.
And he would take a lot of those pictures of the swimmers jumping off the boat, going into Lime Rock, getting back on the swim taxi, and afterwards the parties and the drinking and the celebration. And in those days, they didn't charge for the swims, okay? What they did for the Golden Gate swim is you took 2 books of tickets, and they were $1 a ticket, so it'd be $20. So as you know, in those days, I gave all the tickets out, and I bought about 5 books of tickets. I bought about $50 worth and gave them out to everybody that I knew, all the friends, and they went out on the spectator boat to observe the Golden Gate swim. And that was a great part of swimming too, was sharing your swimming with friends and relatives.
Sure was for me when I went out and watched. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, and your dad went out a lot of times. It was great, and your mom. Yeah.
Oh, Jackie, and I mean, those pictures that I have. There's tons of Bob Killian and that.
So bring those pictures. I want to see them. Yeah.
They're online, but you don't have internet.
Okay. Can you get them up there now?
No, when you get internet.
Can you pull them up?
No, because there's no internet.
Oh yeah.
But okay, what did you feel like? This is so. You've trained 200 miles or whatever it was, and your peak of your life. Mm-hmm. Now you didn't drink.
No.
So you'd get home late or whatever after the parties. What were your thoughts when you were looking in the mirror, brushing your teeth after after that day?
Well, like I said, when I came down to the bay to first swim in the bay, I had no illusions of winning. I had no illusions of beating anybody. I just wanted to swim across the Golden Gate because my dad did it in those years, 1917, 1919. And it was very rewarding for him because he was there for all of my swims.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and he was, I'm sure he got a lot of pleasure out of it, Yeah. I'm sure he was very proud.
So when you were at home at night right before bed, I know it's hard to remember, but what were your thoughts?
Well, you were always kind of nervous. You just try to get to bed early.
But I mean after the swim.
Oh, after the swim, I was jubilation. You know, I mean, I was.
How long did it last?
Oh, I was in such good shape it lasts forever. You know, when
Yeah.
you're in shape, everything is rose-colored glasses.
Yeah.
I mean, you could beat the world. You know,
Yeah.
when you're in physical shape, there's no other feeling like it in the world. There's no drug, no alcohol, no anything that can compare with when you're in shape and competing and winning.
Yeah.
You can't take that feeling away. And it's hard to describe to somebody that has never gone through the feeling. I mean, it's just, I was 31, right at the peak of my career, because for an open water swimming, I wasn't too old, but for a competitive swimmer, I was. And luckily I was on top for about 4 years, but then 34, 35, naturally the younger, fastest studs came up, and I started going down in the rankings, and I have no regret at all, because I'm still very competitive. I still gave it my all. I didn't swim as much at the Olympic Club because I wasn't a member then, but I was always a type A personality and throwing my everything into anything I did, and I always did that and always will. But it was a miracle that I got to join the club, and I'm sure a lot of these people that I've swam with over the years were guided to the club, and for some reason, one way or the other, one of the swims, one of the articles in the paper, and Lee Faust, a great swimmer at University of California, called me, and he said, I'd like to join the South End Rowing Club. And so I said, sure, Lee, come down, and I'll take you through. And he joined, and I beat him the first year, and I think he kind of didn't want to win the first year, out of maybe reverence or whatever it was. But the second year he won his first gate swim, and the following year he won too. But then following years there were so many great swimmers, Thompson Mann, Olympian, of course Lee Faust, Joe Flahaven, Tim Harvey, Joe Wilson, Randy Williams, all great competitors, all great, John Parent, Dave Lomsky, Jimenez, and you go back, we had a Golden Gate plaque, and we still have it, and it goes back to 1930, and the great swimmers that, were there, and 30, that's 87 years ago,
Yeah.
And just to be part of that tradition is an honor. It really is a true honor to be part of these swims. Have been an honor, and very humbling. Like I said, I had no delusions of winning, but when I got that taste, then it was all over.
Yeah.
Because I was always competitive in high school with basketball, football, track, and I carried that on into swimming, and I've been very blessed, very blessed. I don't know what I would have done without swimming. It wouldn't have been part of my life, and I wouldn't have known what I missed. But through a freak accidents in football and basketball and running, here I am today talking to you, and I've been very blessed and given this opportunity, and given the athletic ability and the drive to attain what I've attained in open water swimming. I'm very blessed. I'm very humble.
Okay, I think that's a good start. So we're going to record this time. I'm going to ask you the same questions, and I'm
You
actually.
haven't had this going? Huh? No shit. Are you shitting me?
No, I'm shitting you. Let's let you finish that, and then let's get on camera so I can.
put that in there for
Okay.
me.
All right, so sit down and the camera's rolling, so tell me about it.
Well, how I got into swimming, my dad was a very good swimmer, and he was a great gymnast, a great canoeist, lifeguard, and he taught my brother and I how to swim, and he wasn't a pusher. I gained a lot of my athletic ability from my dad, because my mom was athletic. She was a good tennis player, but he was a good wrestler, swimmer, rower, gymnast. So in high school, that's all I wanted to do was play sports. And my first love was basketball. I started playing in grammar school, then went to Reardon. I played freshman ball, basketball. Then I played JVs. And then I played, second year I ran a little track, and I played JV football. And then I was ineligible because of my grades. And in my junior year, I ran track in my senior year and played football in my senior year. But getting on how I got into swimming, I got a friend of mine, Bill Toohey, who we went all through grammar school together, and afterwards, he lived out on Skyline Drive, and he said, "You want to play basketball some night?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, come out and we'll go up to, what was it, Westlake? Westmore. So I drove out that night, and I went up and rang the doorbell and rang it again and again and again, and nobody answered. And I tried the door, and it was open, and I walked in, and I looked over in the dining room table, and all the food, dinner table, the food was on the table. And I looked around, I walked to the house, and nobody was there. So then I started to walk out to the front door, and for some reason, for some uncanny reason, I said, well, maybe I'll wait. So a little later, I don't know how long it was, Bill and Bev and Brian and Pam came back. I don't know if it was Pam that they had to go take to an emergency or something like that. And so Bill and I went up to Westmore, and we started playing, and it was a three-a-side game, and playing basketball, and this guy went up for a layup, and somebody didn't take him, and I went up to block the shot, and I came down, and I shattered my kneecap, and oh God, the pain was just excruciating. It was unbelievable. So I had my car at Bill's house, and we drove back, and he drove me out to my house. And when we got to my house, he rang the doorbell, and my father said, "What happened?" And my father was really nervous about me settling in and getting a job, and he said, I was hurt, and he really let me down that night, because he said, "Screw him, he got hurt, let him." And my mother was the only one that would take me out to the hospital. And your poor dad, I don't know how he got home. I think my mom had to drive him back to your place in Skyline Drive. And so that was the end of all my athletic endeavors: football, basketball. I was in a cast for about 3 or 4 months, and so I got out of the cast, and I was doing exercises to rehab my knee, and suddenly the doctor says, "Well, can you get into a swimming pool?" And I says, "I belong to the Olympic Club, but I don't swim. I swam. I know how to swim, but I don't swim, down there a lot." So he said something that really turned me on. He says, "Don't worry." He says, "You can get in and swim as much as you want, as hard as you want, and you won't hurt your knee." So gradually I hobbled over to the end of the pool with my crutches and slide into the pool. And at first I couldn't even swim down the end of the pool without getting winded and stop. And then gradually I started working my knee out, and it started to come around, and I started to add a few laps, 2 laps, 4 laps, 6 laps, quarter mile, half mile, 2 miles, and then I started to swim a lot with a lot of guys that were swimming at the club at the time, and And then I got involved, like I said before, in Mississippi swim, and then I met Joe Flahaven down at the club, and he said, you know, I think you'd like swimming in the bay, and I called Dave Gallagher at the time. He'd have to have a sponsor, so he sponsored me, and you know, that's almost 50 years ago, and like I said, I took to the bay right away. I got cold. I was never really heavy. I was a lot heavier than I am now. I'd say it was about 165, 170, something like that, about my football weight. But I was so competitive that, you know, I spent a lot of energy when I was swimming, and naturally I dissipated a lot in the cold. And they sometimes had to carry me out of the water into the sauna, but. That's how I got into swimming, and you know, if it wasn't for that night, and it wasn't for me staying, waiting for Bill and Bev and Brian and Pam to come home, I wouldn't be talking to you here today, and it would have been a huge hole in my life, gap in my life, but I wouldn't have known that. But I look out sometimes at the bay and think how blessed I am to have been invited to swim in the bay and invited to belong to one of the greatest clubs in the world, the South End Rowing Club. And it's funny, I look out at the Alcatraz now, and I see, geez, did I really swim in from Alcatraz? Because, you know, it's the myth, nobody can escape from Alcatraz.
Yeah.
And I did, and you know, gradually as I got into my first and second year, Phil Hunter helped me on a lot of my swims, not only the gate swims, but he helped me do my round trip Alcatraz swim, and he helped me do my round trip Golden Gate swim, which to this day I hold that record too. It's 50 minutes and 27 seconds, I think.
From the South End or there and back, Lime Rock and back?
Lime Rock over and back, yeah,
Oh,
round
wow.
trip, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And I had a lot of people, unbelievable people, that helped me up along the way. And that way, right now, I'm in my twilight of my career, in the fourth quarter. But I really loved helping people, and I've helped a lot of people train for different swims: English Channel, Tahoe, Catalina. We have a group of kids coming out from Arizona every year called the Swim Neptune, and their coach Joe Zamitis, I met him several years ago, and he came out with a couple of swimmers, and then he said, you know, can I bring some swimmers out to swim Alcatraz? And, you know, I said, well, so, and then the next year he wanted to swim the Golden Gate, and I go, oh boy, wow, what are we in for? But we have, I think we're in the 11th year for Alcatraz, and for the 11th year for the Golden Gate, and 12th year for Alcatraz.
Wow.
And these kids are anywhere from 8 to 18, 8 years old. And it's the most highlight of my whole career, my whole life, is helping these children swim from Alcatraz or the Golden Gate Bridge. And you couldn't believe the enthusiasm and the support of the parents. You know, it's not like, you know, they're pushing their kids to do this, and of course the kids are really afraid, but Joe puts them through some real good workouts down in Arizona. They swim in lakes that are as cold or even colder than the bay, so he makes sure when these kids come out they're prepared to swim. And thank God for these 12 years we've never lost a swimmer or never had a swimmer that didn't finish. And we've had great support from all our people in the clubs and the pilots, you know, and we have what they call swim angels, members of the South End Rowing Club that swim along with the kids, and if they start to slow down or they get a little nervous or start crying, you know, they encourage them to keep going. You're going to make it, you know. And like I said, it's the highlight of my whole year and whole life. And I tell these kids, I says, after you swim Alcatraz and the Golden Gate, I says, you will be able to conquer anything in life. I mean, it's such a character builder and such such bragging rights, and I want you to brag about this because you should be very proud that you've done these two great open water swims, world famous swims. And when you get old and have children and your grandchildren, they're going to ask you, Daddy, did you swim across the Golden Gate when you were 8 years old? And you go, yeah, that was me. But I've been really, really rewarded of not only having my great swimming career, but helping people in their swimming challenges. And that's also been a very, very important part of my life, big part of my life. And very rewarding, yeah.
All right, cool, great. Let's do one more. What time is it?
8. And now I can tell its parents because I could tell the face of his shape of his head.
Yeah, the sun's behind you, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, here's the deal.
But that was the first year that we did the Trans-Tahoe against the Dolphin Club.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you win?
Yeah, we won, yeah.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
that was just before I set the record for the gate because this was August, okay?
Yeah.
And the gate swim was in October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all. I have a picture of it too. So, this quick question because I don't want to go over 4 o'clock too much past.
Yeah.
Pam,
Then it's overtime.
Pam joined the club because of Dad. That's what she says.
Yeah.
So give me. Look how big that boat is.
Yeah.
What do you remember of Pam joining the club?
Well, I grew up with you and Pam, from diapers up until right now. And I always invited your dad and mom and you down, and Pam came down, and she really, really said, geez, I want to try this, and she got in, and she was a little pistol, swam across Alcatraz, across the Golden Gate, and even got a marriage out of it.
What about the Sunriser? She has fond memories of that.
Yeah, the Sunriser, we started around 71 or 72, and I was really pushing the envelope, and we started off at 6:30 every morning. We had a very strict, you had to get in the water at 6:30 and get out at 7 because people had to go to work. And we gradually started doing more challenging swims. In those days, we didn't have any pilots, we didn't have anything. We'd go to the dead of night, gale force winds, 49-degree sharkless infested Bay Mercury waters. And it was a great, great tradition. And, we had, at a lot of times, we had 30, 40 people swim in the morning with us, sunrisers. And it was a great tradition that we started at the club. Great, great tradition.
Pam loves you.
Yeah.
She loves the whole deal. Okay, that's it. Let's call it a day.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.